Hi, I'm Sunshine, and today we'll be testing out touch alcohol markers. Let me start out by saying that my markers took a little bit long to arrive, so when they did, I couldn't wait any longer, so I just grabbed a random sheet of paper to test the paper first of all, because I bought marker paper, and also to try the markers, because I didn't know if I would be able to use them for a video or not. And it did have a little bit of bleeding, but it was way less than I thought it would. Then I made the swatch sheet off camera, and I recorded parts of the swatching process. I wanted to make a really satisfying edit, but I couldn't be bothered to edit that much, so you're only gonna have a little bit of footage. The whole swatching process took me around an hour or so, I think. And I had to do this because, as I've seen in other videos, with touch markers, usually the lid doesn't match the actual marker color. So you kind of have to do it. But that is also with any cheap art supply. You usually have to do this a swatch sheet. After I did my swatch sheet, I decided to test the blending. And by the way, I never used alcohol marker before, so I didn't know if I was doing it right or not. And I realized that I was using colors that were way too similar for this. So the blue swatch didn't really work well, especially on camera. You can't really see any difference between the colors. But with the orange swatch, I think it went a little bit better, especially because I went with a darker color afterwards. But still, I had some trouble blending, and then I decided to draw myself just to test out the mark, see what colors would suit my character better. And then I'm pretty sure that I changed those colors out just because I didn't memorize which colors I used. Yeah, I just wanted to see if the idea that I had in mind could potentially work. Completely unrelated to this, but I had to buy some color pencils because I wanted to use the color because I wanted to use the color pencil plus alcohol marker technique that a lot of artists tend to use when the markers aren't as good for blending. And I have to admit that while I was drawing my character on like the smallest size, I didn't really have any problems with the blending. It was actually pretty good. I was really satisfied with it. Slide everywhere. I did the sketch. I'm gonna clean it up, and then we start coloring with the markers. Also, I finished the swatch sheet, as you guys saw in the last part, and I also did a little doodle of my OCs, the OCs that I'll be trying right now, so I could figure out the color scheme with the color palette that I was gonna use for them. Oh, yeah, so there you go. These are the colors that I'll be using. Now, back to that. So, for the real trial, I decided to draw a swatch sheet of my O6 first. So I drew a swatch sheet of sunny and cloudy beforehand to pick a color palette, because I thought if I were to just randomly pick up colors, I would probably mess this up. And I actually did mess it up, not with the colors, but with something else entirely. So, I did a sketch, right? I did a sketch off camera because I thought that it would be kind of boring. And I realized realized while I was lining this drawing, that I should have definitely bought a needless eraser, because half the time I couldn't see anything and half of the time I could see too much and I couldn't really draw over it. So it was a headache. It was pretty much a headache. And I did buy a needless eraser after that, and my life was so much better. After I butchered my liner completely, because I did get a lot of things wrong, my phone was literally on my face, so I really couldn't see much that I was doing. But after that, I started coloring, and the way that I color is that I usually start with the base color, and then I put colors over it afterwards. I do that with any coloring process really, even if it's a watercolor, gouache, acrylic, it doesn't matter, I always do that to give it a nice undertone. Right after I finished doing the base color, as I started coloring and trying to blend in, first of all, I realized that the pen that I use for liner, it doesn't really work with these markers, so it does bleed a little bit. You can barely see it, but it does bleed a little bit, which is annoying. And another thing that I noticed is that these markers are really not good at blending. Like, you can get some blending, but only in a smaller scale, because you need to use a lot of overlapping with the colors. And when you do that in a bigger scale, you have to use more marker, and you really need to like overlap the markers, otherwise they won't blend, and you can't really let them dry, but they dry really fast, so it becomes a little bit of a problem. And I noticed that mostly when I was doing the arm. Actually, I started noticing it when I was doing the horn, because I knew that I was struggling to blend in, and I realized that I had to render it in sections, which was really frustrating to me, because I prefer to just render it all at once. And I think I had a harder time with Sunny and not with Cloudy, first of all because I did him first, and mostly because his color palette has a bigger contrast than Cloudy. At least I feel like it has a bigger contrast, so I had a harder time, especially on the hand. The hand was a nightmare. We don't talk about the hands, okay? Then I went for Cloudy. When I was doing Cloudy, it was way easier. I don't know if the color just blended better. Maybe it had more alcohol in it, or maybe it's just because I got the hang of it after doing Sunny. Pause. After rendering Sunny. Well, yeah, but like rewatching the footage, I feel like the colors just blended a little bit better. Maybe I should have picked different colors for Sunny then. But when I was drawing on a smaller scale, I didn't really have that problem. Maybe it was just the size. I don't know, I could be wrong. I see why a lot of people would not like these markers because of that. It's not really a problem for me, and especially if you do cel shading, it shouldn't really be a problem. Only if you're trying to do something more realistic, which then I don't see why you would use alcohol markers for that, but I do know that people do that. So yeah, also another thing that I noticed is that these markers don't really do a lot of spotting. If you're rendering and you do a layer of color and then you do another layer a little bit afterwards, depending on how you do it, you're not gonna have a problem with a whole ass darker line or darker spot in it, which I found really nice. And you can see on Cloudy's forehead that there was a little bit of that smudging of the line art on with the marker. It was kind of annoying. After that, I did a little mistake on Sunny's hair, which is fine. I was extremely confused as to how I was gonna do Cloudy's hair. Because, by the way, you guys have never seen Cloudy before. She's in UOC, and there's a very specific way that I render her hair, and I didn't know how to translate this to traditional art in the first place, and especially with alcohol markers, because once you go dark, you can really go back to a lighter shade, so I was struggling a little with that. And with the colors that I chose supposed to use for her, I couldn't get any blending at all. It was really hard to blend. You can see like those patches of different colors on her hair. The only way that I could get a little bit of blending was by having it very saturated with one color and then overlapping with another one and then going back with the first color, which you can imagine how that can waste a lot of marker. And even like acrylic markers don't have that problem really. After I was done coloring both characters, I went in with color pencils just to add a little bit more detail and to blend in some parts that weren't really blended in. And then I went with my good old white gel pen just to add a little bit more detail. And then we were done. So my final opinions about those markers. First of all, I mainly decided to buy touch markers for their price, and also because I don't believe in such thing as you can do good art with bad art supplies. I feel like a lot of people used to trash on those markers. A lot of people still do because they just don't really give it a try and they expect them to work the same way as the fancier brands, which they won't because they're cheap for a reason. So I didn't particularly have any problems with them. I do have to say that one, if you're working on a bigger scale, they are probably not for you because they're not gonna blend well. In the smaller scale, they blend perfectly fine. Also, they have a really strong smell. It's not a bad smell. They smell like hand sanitizer. I don't know. They don't smell bad. That is a good point because I've seen a lot of people say that they smell really bad. They don't. They are very pigmented. Like they are juicy and they will stain everything that you have and that you don't have. But one thing that I did like is the paper that I used, the Opaline paper. It did work really well. I thought that it would just blend right through it, but they didn't. The paper really handled the markers well, which is another good thing. And also, I have to say that they compensate the lack of quality by the amount of colors that they have, which is a good thing and also a bad thing. I guess if you're having trouble blending, the amount of colors that you have to choose from will probably just solve the issue because instead of just blending two colors, you add another color in there and you just blend the two colors with the other one, which I didn't do. Probably should have. I could have done that, but I didn't. But anyways, other than that, I did like them a lot. I like the range of colors that you can get for the price, like especially because I am Brazilian and brands like Ohuhu and Copic are extremely expensive compared to this brand, and I wanted to test it out because if it was a good cheap brand, I could recommend to my friends and other people that I knew that like drawing and would like to test different art supplies but then don't have the money to spend on Ohuhu, for example, which is a really nice brand for an affordable price. So for the price, I paid like $30, which would be around $5 for the set of 80 markers, which is really cheap. So I cannot complain about anything really. It's extremely cheap. Yeah, I don't really have much to say. I'm sorry. I wanted to do a review, but I guess, well, in conclusion, my opinion is that touch markers aren't as bad as people say they are. They are actually pretty good for the price. And if you're looking to try new art supplies for cheap, well, there you go. There you have it. Just buy some alcohol markers, touch alcohol markers, and Opaline paper and try them out. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. In case you're Brazilian and you want to try those out, I'm gonna leave a link in the description of where I bought it for both the paper and the markers. So feel free to try it out. This video is not sponsored. I feel like it's very important to say this. I just really wanted to try these markers and I did. I would really like to try some other brands just to have a comparison of how good they are. But yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys like my new model as well. Still a work in progress. I wanted to do a full body model, so this is what we're working with right now. It's already December, right? This video was supposed to go in November or October. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and see you guys probably next year. Bye bye.